What you're looking at right here is the brand new Google Pixel 5, and this phone is completely different from what Google did in the past with the Google Pixel 4, and they're really changing their trajectory of what they think a phone should look like. So we have a lot of differences we have to talk about in this video, and for the most part, this phone really nails the fundamentals. I think Google did a great job of improving pretty much everything people complained about in the Pixel 4, but there are a few things that are drawbacks here I want to talk about later on in the video. But essentially, guys, in the world of flagship phones, this is like the Tim Duncan of smartphones. It just really nails the fundamentals. It's a solid pick. It's a great price on this phone. And like I said, if you look at last year's Pixel 4 and everything people didn't like about it, or if you watched my review then, the things were the really high price point, the really short battery, the two cameras, but one of them was a zoomed in lens and not an ultra wide, and the giant notch on the top for the Project Soli. They got rid of all of those and improved them on the Pixel 5 here. So like I said, we have a lot to talk about. This seems to be a phone of the people, but let's get into this, guys. So starting off with a physical tour of the Pixel 5 here. As a whole, I think it's a really great size. I think the dimensions they chose were really nice. So we have a 6-inch screen on the front. I'll talk more about that in a second, but I think that's a good size to fit in your pocket. And even more importantly, it's a really slim design. That's probably one of the first things I noticed when I started using this phone, is that it's a slim design with nice round edges, but not too round, so it fits nicely in your hand, slides in and out of your pocket, never gets caught on anything. And the camera bump is also really slim. So in a world with massive camera bumps on like the Note 20 Ultra and all the other phones out there, this one having a slim camera bump is really nice. When you set it on a table, it doesn't wobble back and forth. You don't have a giant lip on there, so you really don't need a case if you don't want one. And on top of that, below there, we have our fingerprint sensor on the back now. So previously they had Project Soli on the top, which was a big Face ID thing, similar to the iPhone. And you see a lot of other phones with in-screen fingerprint sensors, but realistically, it's easier to put it on the back for this phone to keep the price point down. And I think a lot of people really don't mind having it there. Your finger kind of naturally goes back there anyway, and it's really fast, really reliable, and it helped Google to save some money on making this phone. Because another thing I didn't mention is, and actually probably the most important factor of this phone, is the price. It's selling at $699, which is a really compelling price when you look at all the other phones out there sneaking up closer to $1,000 or even higher than $1,000. This is on par with the iPhone mini as far as price goes, as well as the Galaxy S20 FE. So it's really a very compelling price point. I'll talk more about that later on in the video. But continuing on, we have two different colors of this one, a black one and a sage one right here, kind of a green. It looks more like a kind of stone texture. I really like it. I think it's a really nice color, texture, aesthetic to the phone overall. So good job, Google, on that one. Also has an aluminum body here, but it definitely is a little bit more composite. I already kind of scratched the edge when I dropped it already. But on the bottom, we have our USB Type-C. We have our speaker down there, our SIM on the left side. And on the right side, we have our really high gloss power button. I think that kind of looks cool, better than the classic orange they were using before. And we have our volume rocker below that. That's essentially everything on this phone physically. We don't have a headphone jack. We don't have any kind of expandable storage. And then finally, looking at the front of this phone, we have a really nice display here. So we have a 6-inch 90 Hz OLED screen with a hole punch camera on the top left. I mean, 90 Hz is really nice to have. It's not 120, but that's going to save a little bit more battery life. And realistically, 90 Hz, 120 Hz, they both feel significantly smoother than 60 Hz, which is what you classically see on a lot of other phones out there. So I like seeing that on this phone. I think that overall it does a good job. Now, so far I've been using this phone for a little while now, and really my one complaint I found was when I'm calling people and I'm on speakerphone, a lot of times they tell me that I sound a little bit muffled. So that's kind of a weird thing. I'm not sure if it's just this device. I'm going to keep testing that out, doing a little bit more research on that, and I actually will be making a 1 month later review of this one. So if you guys want to see some updates to this one, I'll be posting some updates on Twitter, but I'll actually be making an entire video. So make sure you click the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss that video. And now getting into the cameras on this phone, which is arguably one of the most exciting features about this phone. A lot of people want great cameras, and if you look at the best cameras every single year, Pixel phones are almost always at the very top of that list or within the top 3 of all the best cameras on the market. So right here, if we flip this over, on the back we have two cameras. I like what Google did here. We have a wide-angle 12 megapixel camera and a 16 megapixel ultra-wide camera. And I know some people right now might be thinking, hold on, 12 megapixels. There are budget phones with 64 megapixels on the back. And yes, there are, but megapixels are not everything. As we know, Google does a lot of computational photography. A lot of the stuff is done on board with this phone to make a really great looking photo. So we're going to test those out, and I'll show you in a second just how good those photos actually are in some different environments. But also another thing you'll notice is they don't have a lot of extra stuff. They don't have a telephoto lens, they don't have a macro lens, they don't have all these other things that other phones have, because realistically the cameras that you're going to be using the most are the ultra wide and the wide angle lens. And I think that's good that if they're cutting costs, those are the right two lenses to have here. We also have a flash and a microphone on the back. So this is a video with a selfie camera. It's not the most stable, but honestly I think the color looks really good here. Pixels are not necessarily known for their high quality videos, unlike their photos, but let me know how this looks and sounds to you guys. All right, now testing out the rear camera. Again, pretty good color, pretty good dynamic range here. And as we zoom in, you'll see that it still looks pretty decent, and we can actually transition between lenses. So right around here, you can see right there, we switched from the standard lens to the ultra wide. You see a slight difference in color, but for the most part, I'd say that's a pretty seamless transition. As far as the autofocus goes on this, if we look over here, you can see we're focused on the trees. And as soon as you go down, it focuses in really quickly on closer subjects. I'm very pleasantly surprised with the focus of this. And as far as audio quality goes, if we turn this around, there is a microphone on the back, so it would look and sound something like this. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of this. This camera is capable of shooting 4K. So again, let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. The audio quality, the video quality, and now let's look at the photos. So getting into the photos with the rear camera, first of all, you can see great color, really good balance on this photo, good white balance, good saturation levels, a good high dynamic range here, but not too saturated like we see with other phones. And I'll post more photos on my Twitter as well if you guys want to follow me and check those out. But the photos just look really natural. It's what Pixel does really well, and it looks exactly like it did when I saw it. Now you also have the ultra wide lens right here, gives you an extra wide field of view, really, really nice to have. And we have 7x digital zoom, which honestly is not especially usable, but 3 to 5x is definitely okay. Skin tones looked, again, very natural, good sharpness here as well. The portrait mode was a little bit disappointing. There was a little bit of weirdness around my hair on the top, but going into the night mode here, you can see a standard photo looked okay. And then when you turn on night sight, it looks like broad daylight in there. You can see everything significantly better, and this works with stars or really anything at night. I thought the selfie lens honestly looked better than the primary lens with skin tones and colors, but again, the portrait mode struggled with the weird clarity bubble around my ear. But overall, the photos looked really good. The night sight looks excellent. That's really one of the strong points of this camera. And all the photos just turn out looking very natural and very real with great color, great sharpness. It would be nice if Pixels added maybe a higher megapixel count, but they do a great job with their software. So in a way, guys, I'm glad they didn't put it on here, but I do kind of miss Project Soli. I thought it was a really cool project they put on here. The cool little air gestures, whenever you picked up the phone, it was already signed in. I thought they did a good job with that. I thought it was really interesting, but it makes sense that they cut it out of the Pixel 5 here. Now getting into some specs and features with the Pixel 5 here. On the back we have wireless charging as well as reverse wireless charging, which they're calling battery share, and it's really nice just to use your phone as a wireless charging pad. So you can charge other phones, you can charge your Pixel Buds, you can charge watches, you can charge your AirPods Pro, whatever you have. If it takes Qi wireless charging, you can charge it on the back of this phone. It's a really nice feature to have. This also has Gorilla Glass 6 for scratch resistance and shatter resistance on the screen. And we also have IPX8 water resistance, so shouldn't be a problem if you splash this or drop it in water for a very brief amount of time. And then in the software, we have even more features, and unlike a lot of other Android phones, Google's giving you just kind of a pure Android experience. So out of all the Android phones, it's probably the most like an Apple experience, just that it's a mature operating system. Everything's very easy to find. It's very simple. You don't have a ton of different features like we see on Galaxy phones, but we do have some cool things kind of baked into this. So one of them is car crash detection. If you get in an accident, your phone can detect that and call for help if you're unable to do that. You also have cool things when you're on phone calls. So robocalls are something that I absolutely hate, getting robots calling you 5-6 times a day. This right here, you have two things for that. The first thing is you actually have the call screening. So if somebody calls you and you don't feel like talking, you can just tap call screen or screen call, and it will just kind of have Google answer the call for you and transcribe everything to text. And if it's actually a real person, you can just pick up the phone and talk to them, or you can type back to them, you can hang up. It's really a nice feature to have. And the second feature is when you're on hold, you can just go to the hold for me feature, in which Google's just gonna go on hold for you and let you know when the person's back on the line. You also have cool things like identifying songs in the background. If you hear a song, you don't know what it is, just swipe down, you can find it in your settings on your phone. Then you also have continued conversation with Google Assistant. So if you ask a question like, what's the weather? Then you can follow up and say, what about tomorrow? And it knows what you're talking about. It has context, and it can answer your next question. And then the last thing is going to be the transcription. So being able to give you subtitles on any kind of media you're watching is also a nice feature to have. So tons of software features on here, but again, a really simple interface, very intuitive and very easy to use. So if you're coming from an iPhone and you're worried about Android being big and bulky and confusing, this is a good phone to get. Behind the screen, we have some really impressive specs, with the exception of one thing that I'll mention in a second, but we have 8 GB of RAM, which is great for keeping lots of apps open, 4,000 milliamp hours of battery, which means that you should be getting, well, they claim 48 hours of battery life. I'm not quite getting 48 hours, but I'm easily getting more than 1.5 days. The battery life on this is definitely impressive. It's a really efficient phone. We have 128 gigs of storage, so great for lots of photos and videos and 4K, stuff like that. This also has 5G, so you can connect to 5G networks, or you can connect to LTE networks or whatever network you have around you. But if 5G is available, you're just a little more future-proof. It's a really fast connection, so it's nice to have that on this phone. We have 18-watt fast charging, and the little drawback here is actually that it doesn't have the flagship processor. Instead, this has the Snapdragon 765G, which essentially means it's going to be slightly slower than the flagships like the Galaxy S20 or Note 20. But you're also running a pretty light version of Android here, and for the most part, if you look at the benchmarks, the average use is not going to notice any kind of a difference unless you're doing any kind of advanced like 3D rendering games and stuff like that. But even then, this processor definitely keeps up, so I don't see that as a significant drawback. I think the processor, like, yes, it's a little bit slower, and at this price point, you can get better ones out there, but all things considered, the user experience probably won't be much impacted by that. So overall, guys, the Google Pixel 5 here, at the very least, it has to be the biggest improvement year over year for phones. The Pixel 4 last year, I think they already discontinued that. It just was not a good phone. It didn't work out. A lot of problems with that. I think Google came back strong here at a lower price point, longer battery life, better camera setup, better screen setup, 5G. Like, I think there's a lot going right with this phone, and I think it makes it a really easy phone to recommend, especially at this price point, $699. I have a link in the top of the description, just below the like button if you guys want to see the latest price, but I think it's an easy phone to recommend. So comment down below, let me know what your thoughts are on the Google Pixel 5, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.